Yeah, good to see you, man. So you're living in North Carolina?
Yeah, just outside of Charlotte. Been here for 20 years now.
I see your post. You're like, grinding every morning,
Every day,
2 miles, 5 miles, 12
10
miles.
miles. Yeah, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Well, I own a renovation company. We do kitchen and bath remodeling, um, and it's been pretty successful the last 5 years, I guess. I've been kind of in that business since high school, really, just doing
Yeah.
construction work. So it's been uh, one of those things. Just stayed with it. I like doing it. I like building stuff and that kind of thing. It is what it is. But the running piece is obviously a big part of what I do now. Obviously,
Yeah.
I kind of started a business um, middle of last year, kind of in a rough spot, really. Uh, Doing race directing for the community, putting on races and things like that. But with the COVID, everything's kind of been on hold and shut down. So we've only been able to do like one race since we started. So we're doing some online stuff, virtual things here and there, whatever.
Yeah.
A run club, that kind of thing. So just keep things fresh and interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're always posting stuff that's motivational. Team never stop, hashtag team never stop. I mean, tell me about that.
So yeah, I mean, long story made short. Probably mutual friends of ours from high school, Jason Lester. That is a brand of his.
Yeah.
When I started running, I kind of had no idea what I was doing, and was running in hiking boots basically almost, and so I called or not called him. I messaged him on Instagram and I said, "Hey man, like, what's a good shoe to run in? I don't even have a clue. Like, I'm wanting to get into running and I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what's a good shoe?" And so he started kind of mentoring me through some of that stuff and what he uses and that kind of thing. And then as the time progressed, he was putting on different challenges throughout the year. Like in May, he put on a cycling challenge, and I rode like 800 miles in May.
Wow.
In July, we did a running challenge, and I ran like 260 something miles in July. Um, so,
Wow.
so as that relationship grew, I kind of have adopted that same mentality of, doesn't matter, just keep going, just don't stop, yeah, kind of
Yep.
team never stop, that's
There you go.
the
Awesome.
idea. And so that's kind of where that came from. I just have stuck with it.
Yeah, and I also see hashtag OMRultra.
Yeah, that's the company we started last year, OMRultra. Uh,
Okay.
a funny story there on one of my runs. I was just like, part of why I do this or why I'm involved in posting so much and not just running is I want to motivate people to kind of get up and do something with themselves. So I'm running early last year, and I'm like, what in the world, what can I do? Just that's when my brain works. If I get involved in something, I want to go all in. I'm just kind of in it. So the phrase OMR came from old man running. Man, and it was just like, it kind of came to me like, doesn't matter how old you are, it matters how old you feel, and
Yeah.
that kind of, you can do whatever you put your mind to do, kind of thing. So that's where OMR comes from. Is
No, man, I love it. It's simplistic, but it's true, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's all about the mindset.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I was scrolling through your social media. I mean, because listen, Jeremy, it's been over 25 years, almost close to 30 years since we've seen each other or talked.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
so, it was really great to reconnect with you, and I love your passion. I love reading some of your posts, and so before the interview, I was, a few weeks ago, I started scrolling through, looking at like old posts and stuff, and so I was just curious. Was there like an event that happened in your life that kind of flipped the switch for you? Um, was it like overcoming adversity or, anything like that that
Oh
you
yeah,
wouldn't mind
yeah,
talking about?
absolutely. So I guess 2019, um, had been running the business for about 4 years or so, and it just was it was wearing me out, man. It was really getting me into a place of depression. It was the same thing day in, day out, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, just grinding at work, and nothing seemed to be clicking and working. It was always, just a struggle, and I was really hitting a spot of depression. Got into drinking again pretty heavily, and weighed almost 300 pounds. I was 270 pounds or so.
Wow.
And funny funny thing was my wife, she ordered some books online for the new year, some like self-help, motivational, whatever books, and it was like this really pretty pink and brown journal book. And she's like, "Here, I want you to read this book and go through it with me." And I'm like, I looked at the book, and I looked at her, and I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I kind of just tossed it on the desk, like I think I opened the page once. I was like, "Nah, this ain't for me." And I just, it just wasn't it. And so a few weeks go by, and like I said, I was just in a really, like, I don't know, I was in a place where I was ready to give up, like, in general, like, just things had to change or things were going to be done. Like, I was just that far gone. And she came to me one day and she's like, "Well, if you're not going to read that book, then you need to go listen to David Goggins' podcast or read his book or something." And so I was like, "All right, I've heard of him, and I've seen a few things on the internet with David Goggins." And so I picked up a copy of his book, and I mean, I read it in a week, and it was just like the feeling of being alive again just hit me. It was like, I can do. A lot of his message was, failure being a stepping stone, not necessarily a stopping place. Kind of the deal. Like, we're all going to experience failure. Everybody's going to go through ups and downs, all that kind of stuff. And it was just motivational. It was really what kind of got me to change my mindset versus just being angry at the world, always blaming everybody else for my problems and not taking ownership of my own stuff and all that kind of thing. And I mean, he's a Navy SEAL, ultra runner, does all this kind of crazy stuff, holds world records for pull-ups, and just challenges himself to do awesome things, And so it was just real inspiring. And so that was kind of the beginning of it. Like, I just kind of took that mentality on and said, I can do something with myself, even though I've failed at this, or I'm failing at that, or I haven't, you start to compare yourself to other people. And that's where, unhappiness comes from. Really, you start looking, like, what did, so-and-so is doing this many $1 million a year in business, and I'm over here doing just this little bit or whatever. And it's like, you just get into that rut. Like, you feel like you're not accomplishing what you should be accomplishing or whatever. And it's, everybody's race is different. Everybody's, struggles are different, and achievements are different, and successes is kind of at that point. That was literally a year ago today.
Yeah, I mean, you said some really profound things there. It's so true. I mean, one of the things you mentioned was failure. I mean, failure is not it's not an end. It's not a defeat. It's not you've lost. It's over. It's Failure's a message. It's a moment in our journey um, where we have to just kind of pause and self-reflect and say, why is this so difficult? What is the message here for me? And
Right.
like you go on these trail runs all the time, and you got buddies with you, and they're going through something different in their head. You're on that trail and you're focused and you're in the zone, and that's part of our journey. And so when we hit these roadblocks, these obstacles, it's really about us and being present in our moment, and what do I need to do to kind of move through this. And so failure is part of succeeding. it's
Oh,
it's it's
absolutely.
it's just a piece in the journey. And
Yeah, absolutely. I think,
yeah.
one of the things that I've taken on as far as failure is concerned, like I almost welcome it because it tells you where your limitations are and what you need to work on. Like, especially, in the running game and community, like for instance, hill work. If I'm struggling to get up a certain hill in my neighborhood or whatever for running, like we did a challenge. I did a challenge for the community last year. It was a 21-day challenge, run 100 miles in 21 days. Had never ran that much before myself, and I was like, let's throw that number out there and see what happens. And part of my route was a pretty good incline of a hill, and it never failed. Every time I got to that part, I'd get halfway up and I'd have to stop and walk, and I would feel defeated. I'm like, oh man, I just can't make it up this hill. I just can't do it. So I got my 100 miles in, I don't know, a few days prior to the challenge ending. So I was day 18, 19, I had 100 miles in. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go over to that hill and I'm going to run up and down that hill until I can run up and down that hill without stopping. And, it was just that kind of mentality. Like,
Yeah.
there was times where I was on the route running and I'm like, maybe I won't go down that street today because it's a hill, it's hard, and then I'm like, no, get up there, go run, get it, and it's failure to me is identifying my weaknesses and then giving me a new launching place from where to start. So if it's in business and I failed at something, I'm not starting at square one, I'm starting at square 27 or wherever I ended. Kind of, I've got all that knowledge I need to bring with me of what does work, what doesn't work, and now I can move forward from there, or change directions or whatever.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you had this 100-mile challenge in 21 days. I mean, we all set these goals for ourselves that are huge, and they can be overwhelming. Like when you said 100 miles, I was like, Jesus. I mean, if I go run 5 miles, I'm tired, and and so I think, man, 100 miles, but I mean, you said 21 days, and so part of goal setting, part of life is not to think about, I mean, obviously you want that end result, but part of life is to kind of break it down and make it manageable, right? I mean, so, you said, what is that, 5 miles a day in 20 days, right?
Yeah.
So one day, I see your post, one day you run 10 miles and the next day you run 3. And I mean, so it's 10 miles is still a quite the feat, and especially when I see these, you run 10 miles in 2 hours. Is that right?
Yeah, a little under 2 hours.
Something like, yeah. So that's a pretty good pace there, man.
It's moving a little bit. There's guys
Yeah.
faster than me. I'm definitely the turtle of the group, but but still moving. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. But and you also said earlier in this conversation, you also said that one of the things that kind of is defeating is when you start comparing yourself to other people's successes, other people's lifestyle, and it's different for everyone. And they have their own journey, they have their own stuff they go through, and really they're no different from us. I mean, if they fall down, or if somebody, people, it's interesting, we put these people on pedestals, and we idolize people, and it's good to have goals and it's good to have inspiration, but at the end of the day, if I cut my finger, I bleed.
Right.
If I fall down, I scrape my knee. And I go through the same shit every day that you go through.
Right.
It's really about mindset. It's
Oh,
about,
absolutely.
just when you come to these stopping in these blocks, these hurdles, these hills that you defeat the last 9 times you ran it, and then one day you just said, you know what, I'm just gonna give it all I have and not stop on this hill. I'll stop when I get to the top and I'll be in pain, but I'm gonna just but I'm just
Everything
gonna
comes to an end at some point,
right. We all have these lessons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure,
I think
man.
you're right. Like mindset is a huge part, and like to back up with that, like with the goal setting and you know, like the 100-day challenge, like, or whatever that is, you're right. Like to look at, and I think that's what that stunts most people's starting is they look at the enormity of the goal, and it should scare you if you're doing it right. If you're setting a goal for yourself, it should scare you as a whole, but you're not going to get there in one step, if that makes sense. So like if I'm doing I'm doing a 50-mile run in April, and it's up and down a mountain twice, I'm not doing that whole thing in one step. It's all I have to do is conquer the next step, the next step, the next step. So in my mind, it's not, all right, I got to run 50 miles. No, I got to run from here to that tree. And then when I get to that tree, I got to run from this tree up that rock or whatever it is. And I break it down into bits and pieces. And that's what successful goal planning is. Like, you have the overall goal that you want to achieve, but you have to have a plan to get to that goal. And that plan isn't from A to Z. It's A, B, C.
Yeah. Yeah. You said, you know, if your goals don't scare you, then you're just not, you know, doing it right. And that's the truth. If you're not uncomfortable, then that's exactly what you are. You're comfortable. And you know, if you know, I always say, you know, in people, it's been a term for many years. If you want different results, you got to do things differently. So if you stay in your comfort zone, then you're not going to achieve these things that you want to achieve for yourself. You know, it's, so you've got to be uncomfortable, and it's natural. And we shouldn't be afraid to embrace being uncomfortable. We shouldn't be afraid, you know, to embrace, you know, being afraid or being scared, or you know, these things. So yeah, it's interesting. You know, our minds are so more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. You know, we can achieve so many more things. We're the ones that stop ourselves from doing things. I mean, there's the physical aspect of it, and that's training and conditioning, right? I mean, you just can't, you know, I've said it before, you can't just put shoes on for the first time, lace up, and go run a marathon. It just doesn't work that way.
No. People can, I guess.
Well, not me. I mean, yeah.
It's definitely the journey to the marathon. That's where the work is, and that's where that's where the you're by yourself. You know, like this morning, I'm out there running. It's 5:30. It's 27 degrees outside. My sweat is freezing to my beard. You know, and nobody's watching me. You know, and what am I doing it for? You know, I'm doing it to get to that end goal. Like, you know, like I've got a race I'm planning for, or if I've got an event I'm looking for, like the massive amount of miles I put into doing an ultra race. You know, I might run 70 miles a week, 60 miles a week for 6 months to do an 8-hour race. You know what I'm saying? So to do a 50-mile or 100-mile race, or a 50K or whatever, I might be running a massive amount of miles to get there. And then I run a 50-mile race and I'm done, kind of thing. Like it's the preparation, it's the work that you put into it. It's everything behind the scenes that makes you successful on the big day, kind of thing. But you know, and that's the way it is with everything. It's all the shit that you do when nobody's looking that counts. You know, that makes you successful.
But it's the work that nobody sees.
Yeah.
And you know, and the messaging that comes from it. I mean, I think that, you know, when I read a post of yours that takes me, you know, 60 seconds to scroll through or read, I mean, you know, you've spent hours and hours on your run and your journey and your message, and, you know, a lifetime, really, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely inspiring. And I see, you know, the comments from people on your posts are definitely inspired by you. So you should feel really good about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, like I said, that's the driving force of what I do there. I mean, I enjoy the running. It definitely is a place of meditation for me. I get to get out there and just kind of blank out of everything else and just kind of listen and enjoy nature or whatever it is. But in the end of the day, like if I can inspire somebody, not just running wise, but if I could inspire you just to get up and pursue a passion of yours, like then that's what makes it worth it. I mean, I get a lot of people that say, "Man, I wish I could do what you do," and I'm like, "You can if you want to. Like you gotta want to."
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, it's really about finding what it is for you. My entire life I've done a lot of things, worked, in a hotel, cleaning rooms, housekeeping, a front desk, serving, waiting tables, delivering bottled water, delivering pizzas. Uh, you know, I've had some crappy jobs, but
Right.
I've also put myself into that job and made it rewarding as much as I can, at least some of the jobs. Um, and it doesn't really matter. It does None of it really matters. What matters is what's being present and being fulfilled. And I know that, and I think everybody goes through this. It's like, well, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And I've always known that I wanted to help people. I mean,
Yeah.
that's always been core to me. And
Yeah.
so, I just woke up one day and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do what I like to do. And I'm going to, put the effort in. And, it's getting up at, 4 o'clock in the morning and putting in the work and then going to work. And then it's, 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night, putting in the work and still finding that balance with your family. And, uh, you know, I God bless my wife. I love her, and she's been so supportive for me. And it sounds like your wife has pushed you a little bit
Absolutely.
to the better side. And so, we engage in these partnerships with our loved ones, and become a team. So we feed off each
I
other, we
think she
balance
knew
each
what she
other.
was getting into when she pushed me down this rabbit hole, though.
Same here.
I think last year I spent, I think it was 450 hours running last year or something ridiculous like that.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, but at the same time, like, if I haven't ran for a day or two, which is very rare, but if I get into a slump or something and it affects me, and she's like, "You need to go for a run. Get out of here."
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, she's been supportive of it for sure.
That's
But man, I
awesome.
really love the to kind of jump, not in subjects, but to kind of come back around the name of your podcast of owning your space. Like I was thinking about that this morning on the run. Like, so many, like I said, for me, like I was constantly looking outside of me and blaming this and that and comparing, you know, owning your space, like, is what's from here to here. Like if I can manage that 7 inches of real estate right here, like that's where the success comes from, man. I was like, that's just a key thing right there. Like, just own this.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting, and it's evolved. So, I've been in the coffee industry for about 20 years, and early on, several promotions starting, I dropped out of college. And so I got a job driving a truck and delivering coffee and servicing break rooms. And I was just present with my customers, present with my employer, present with what I was doing. And people took notice and they said, "Hey, how about, you ever thought about doing this? And we'd like to promote you." And I'm like, "Sure, great." And not really thinking about the future, just being in the moment. And I've kind of lived that way. And as I got to become a general manager and have a team of people that I'm leading, that was kind of the deal. It was like, you go into a new environment with a new team, and there's always a few people that don't want to take ownership, and they're like, "Oh, well, they didn't do this and that's why it was like that. And you can go through life that way. Absolutely. You can go through life that way. Is it healthy? No, it's very destructive. I
Yeah.
mean, what do you have control over? And so I tell my team all the time, and it started really about, their job, like own your space. If you go in and you're present and the coffee machine is dirty or they're out of product and you have take the time to clean it or take the time to get the product off your truck and stock it, be engaged with the customer, communicate with the customer. And that was my motto. We'd have our team meetings, once a month, or even in the, just a small, walking down the hall, passing somebody, or I'd be out on the dock in the morning talking to the guys, and it's like, hey, what's going on? And it's really about, like, own your moment, own your space. This, do what you can do to control your environment, and let somebody else worry about that other stuff. Talk to me, and I'll circle back around, or whatever we need to do. And the more it got about own your space was exactly what you said. It's really about the 7 inches of space, between our ears and our mind, and in owning our moment, and in not making excuses. And it's like, you can have reasons or results, but you can't have both. And and it's not that reasons are bad. It's what it means for you. So it's like, well, I was going to go to the store and I got a flat tire, so I couldn't go. Well, yeah, not getting to the store, my reason is having a flat tire. It's uncontrollable. But what is it that I can control, and what is my journey? So I didn't go for a run. Well, why? Well, because I was watching this TV show. So I made a choice to sit on the couch and watch a TV show. So you can have reasons you didn't go for a run, or you can just go for a run and have results. But
That's right.
you can't have both. So,
Yep.
and it's a balance. We're not, superheroes. So we have to have downtime. We have to have uh, relaxing time. And yeah, and so you mentioned recovery miles on recent posts. Did you injure yourself, or?
So like you said earlier, like, we're not all superhuman, whatever, this or that. So like, it's for running purposes. You want to take a day off during the week, whatever. And some people will take the day completely off and not do anything. And I tend to do like just short mile, very low impact, either like cross train. I'll get on my cycle trainer and ride a little bit, or I'll just jog, slow pace miles for, low miles kind of thing, just to keep blood flow in the legs and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a recovery versus a long, hard push kind of a run, that kind of a deal.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So I do 2 of those a week. Instead of taking like a full day off, I just do 2 light days. Like Monday and Friday, I'll do just light work kind of thing. And then big miles the rest of the time, 10 miles or more. Yeah. Right now is what I'm into. So just depends.
Yeah. So what are some goals, or do you have, I mean, like you said, conditioning, training, obviously, the journey is it's a bunch of different goals chopped up, right? Like you said, right. You go out on this run, and it's not about running 10 miles. It's running from this hill to that rock. And then when you get to that rock, then, I mean, so, but the ultimate goal is the 10 miles on your run. I mean, so you said you're, conditioning and training, and do you have your next milestone that you're looking at doing, or is it the message, or is it,
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of part of what drives me, I guess, is always like, here's the bar, let's move it to there. Let's move it to here. I'm constantly pushing that bar further away from completion. There, like, just, I never want to be satisfied with that, because that's when you just get stale again. I'll be right back into depression and you know, whatever, like, oh, life sucks, whatever. So I'm always pushing the bar. So right now, this year, I've got, you know, my goals are usually surrounded by events. So I've got like a 50-mile race, like I said, coming up in April, which is during that 50 miles, we'll be climbing like 10,000 feet. It's up and down a mountain. So,
Wow.
so it's a pretty arduous task there. I've got a couple of marathons and a couple of smaller races. And then at the end of the year, I want to do a 100-mile race, which is another mountain course as well. So it'll be a pretty arduous task.
Yeah.
You're like, for a 100-mile race, it's 24 to 36 hours of on your feet kind of running. So those are the race goals that I'm working on. Coming up, actually next week, we're starting our run group, and OMR is starting a 100-day challenge with the community. So we're going to hand out like gift certificates to the running stores that are around here for top miles within that 100 days. So I've set a goal for 1,000 miles in that 100 days, just to kind of be an example to everybody else, try to motivate people to kind of keep with their New Year's resolutions of running, or give them motivation to kind of get off the couch and stay with it and that kind of thing. And so the biggest thing, honestly, in running for everybody, I would imagine, is the mindset. Like, your body doesn't want to do what you're asking it to do. Like, it just doesn't. You get out there and on that first mile, you're like, what in the hell am I doing out here? You know, it's 27 degrees. It's 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I should be in bed, or, you know, at least have a nice cup of coffee or whatever. And you're running up a hill, you know, and it's like, you're constantly having to overcome those thoughts and move to the next space kind of thing, and move to the next level and push past those feelings. And like, there's so many times, I mean, like, the internal struggles that arise during a long run like that is like, oh, well, I don't want to, I can just take this left and I can be back at the car, and I don't have to finish that next, you know, 3 laps or 3 loops or 10 miles or whatever. Like, you're constantly having this power struggle of, you know, even like in the morning, I'll set out to go for 10 miles, and I'll get to mile 6 and I'm like, oh, you know, 6 miles, that's pretty good for the day. Like, most people only run 3 miles a day or whatever, you know, like 6 miles is good. I'm like, no, I set out to do 10. I got 4 more to go. And so then you got to force yourself into an uncomfortable situation, basically, to achieve those goals, I guess. Got a little saying that I kind of repeat is, you know, growth is in discomfort. Like, if I'm not gonna force myself into uncomfortable situations, I'm not gonna grow.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I'm not gonna get any better. I'm not gonna get any stronger. I'm not, you know, talking about, you know, working out or running or whatever. Like, it's in the breaking down of muscle groups that actually brings strength. So when you break down those muscle groups by overuse, or by using, not overuse, but by using them, they actually build back stronger than they were before you started, kind of thing. So you got to push past that comfort zone and get out there and keep going. And the only way you can do it is through the mind, you know, like this high and low journey of you know, the mind and the body together, just kind of, that's what's kind of fun about it, is it's really, you know, for me, like, running is exploring my potential. Like, what can the body do? What lengths can it go? What is it capable of? What is my body capable of? I mean, I know what other people's can do, but like, what can mine do? You know, what am I able to, between my mind and my body, accomplish? I mean, I remember when I first started running, I used to go to this park, and the park's like 2 miles from the house. And I would drive to the park and run around the park once, and it was like almost a mile. And I was like, oh yeah. And I get done with that, and I drive home, and you know, and that was kind of my daily routine. And I would think to myself, I'm like, man, one of these days I'm going to run to that park. you know, and now it's like, that's not even the halfway point of one of my runs. Like I run through that park on a daily basis now from the house, you know, but like,
That's awesome.
it was convincing myself in that journey, like, oh, that's possible. And you get to that goal and you say, all right, well, now what's possible? That was, I'm still alive. Like I made it. I've gotten to that point now. Now what can I do? And never being satisfied, never being fulfilled, I guess. I'm how do I say it? I mean, I like to achieve the goals, but to be satisfied with that is where, you know, you're going to get stagnant and stop growing. So it's like, all right. I mean, like, it's funny for me, like I'll be at the tail end of one of my challenges or something, and there'll be a week left and I'm already thinking about, all right, what's next? And I'm not even done yet. You know, like, all right, what's next? Like haven't even run a 50-mile race thinking, all right, when's the 100-miler? You know, or whatever. So it's constantly setting that bar higher and higher and higher so that you just keep achieving more and more and more.
So, you know, listen, Jeremy, I appreciate your time today. Truly, I feel blessed to have this conversation with you and to catch up. And you are very motivational, inspirational, and but I wanted to just kind of put this out there for you real quick, for a moment.
Yeah.
Your mindset today and everything that you've been through, I want you to think back to those moments that you were struggling, you know, with addiction or, you know, drinking a lot or whatever, because there's people out there right now, this moment, that are going through all of that. And what would you say to yourself then that you know now, or to those people out there? I mean, you know,
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Um, and it's a hard one to answer, to be honest with you, because um, everybody is at a different place. Addiction, that was a struggle for me for most of my life. I mean, you know me, you've known me for a long time, and my upbringing was rough, and I was on a path of destruction like like no other. Like I'm sure if there was a group in high school that said, you know, well, most likely to be imprisoned or dead, I was in the top 10 kind of a thing. But you know, it doesn't have to control you. Like I think addiction is a weak way out, in that you just have given up on reality and you want to escape it. And that's coming from somebody that's lived life that way for a good part of his life. Like there is another way, but it's not easy. I mean, it's definitely not easy, but it's better. You know what I mean? Like it's a better existence, a better, you're present, you're here, you're alive, you're not just existing, you're living, kind of a thing. But you know, I mean, as far as that goes, like I would say, you know, again, addiction, everybody looks at it as a bad thing. Like I'm still an addict, but I've just chosen to be addicted to some things that are positive for me. You know, I get up and run every day. You know what I mean? Like it's a mindset. It is a behavioral. It's something you're not going to get rid of. There's definitely help out there, and there's definitely places you can go. I mean, like I run now, and like I'll do it in a couple of weeks. I'll run a 24-hour run and raise money for organizations like Teen Challenge that help people that have struggled with addiction and things like that. I've seen good friends lose their life to addiction just in the past few years, you know, that I went to school with and things like that. So, you know, it's definitely, it's a hard thing. It's people that haven't been there don't know how hard it is, how much that grips you and how much you don't even control it necessarily. But if you can figure out a way to replace it with something positive, something good, something wholesome, something that you're passionate about. I think that's the big thing. Like, find out your purpose in life. You know, I think that's a big part of why people wander that way. Is, you know, you said it early on, you know, you went through a lot of your life wondering, what am I supposed to do? Who am I? What is my why? Why am I here? That kind of thing. Like, if you can figure out what those are, you don't want to be disconnected anymore. You know what I mean? You don't want to be in a haze anymore. You want to be present. You want to be involved in what makes you alive. You know, and I think that's what people search for their whole lives, is like, why am I here? What is my purpose? And find what your purpose is. I mean, whatever it is. If you like, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. And, you know,
Doesn't matter.
yeah, no, it's true. It really doesn't matter. It does, but it doesn't. You know,
Right.
it's different for everyone. And, you know, it's like you get, and I always go back to, you know, the Pink Floyd song, Comfortably Numb.
Right.
And, you know, it's like when you're in this addiction, or you don't even know it, right? I mean, you don't. And that's one of I think the first step really is recognizing then and admitting to yourself that, yeah, I got a problem, right? And,
Absolutely.
the support from our loved ones is so key and so important, just to have that first trigger for people. And then you start the process of what, you know, I what is it that I want to do? And you know, and I always say, just go back to your core, like what means the most to you, and what is important to you, and your core values, and then just put that into whatever you're doing. It doesn't really matter what is, it's the why.
Exactly.
You know, like you just said, it's the finding that why in life. And yeah, man, so it's cool. Good stuff. Good stuff for sure. Yeah, man, Jeremy, it was great to see you, to listen to you, to catch up. I'll keep following you on social media.
Absolutely.
Keep spreading the word, brother.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me part of the beginnings of what you're doing here. I'm excited to watch it grow and do good things, man. It's really
Awesome.
cool.
Awesome.
Very,
All right, man. Well, have a great rest of your day and take it easy.
all right. See ya.
All right. Bye.